Hi friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name is Tanya and we're already over here at the kitchen countertop. I'm going to show you how to make two different kinds of tortillas. One, of course, being a corn tortilla and the other being flour tortilla. They're not the same process. No matter who tells you, get yourself a tortilla press and make you some flour tortillas. It just doesn't work that way. We're working with two completely different products. One has gluten in it, one does not. It's like the difference in working with silly putty and working with sand at the beach. You just can't do the same thing with both items, even though they're both fun to work with. Two completely different things. So let's get started. I am making half a batch of each of these, and I'll give the recipe for the full amount, which would be double what I'm making, in the description of this, because the recipe is always included in our videos. But I don't really need tortillas right now. I have tortillas already in the refrigerator, but I'm making this for the benefit of showing them to you. Now I'll use them for something. They're not going to go to waste. But the first one we're going to do is corn tortillas, and this is what I'm using for the most part today, only because I had this in the pantry. I thought I was out of masa, and you can't really find it in our small town. You can't find organic. You can find conventional in the big 5-pound bag, but that's not what I want to use. This is actually my favorite masa, and I ordered this online, so it looks like I'll be ordering some more of that. Now I have a little bit of this to top this off because I didn't quite have enough of this, but they work about the same. They're a little different, but I will say that the King Arthur is my favorite, and I've heard other people talk about that online too. So if you're looking to just play around and see what you can do, if you can find this locally, good for you. It tastes great. There's nothing wrong with it. But the King Arthur just has a different texture to it, and it's really, really lovely to work with. So the original recipe calls for 2 cups of masa. I'm using 1 cup. The lighter color on the top is the King Arthur, and as you can see down below is a little bit more yellow. That is the Bob's Red Mill. Put it in a bowl. The original recipe calls for a teaspoon of salt, or close to a teaspoon, just a little less. I'm using about a half teaspoon of salt. Now masa is not the same as just cornmeal finely ground because masa has lime added to it. There is nutritional benefit to this. It is easier to digest, and I guess the Native Americans knew what was going on because they've been doing this for a long time. The American Pilgrims, or whoever here was here following the Native Americans, thought they were doing the right thing by making cornbread, and they just kept getting sick with some sort of disease. But the Native Americans were fine because they had this lye in theirs, which helped them digest the dried corn. Smart people, in my opinion. Okay, what we're going to add to this is the original recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups of very, very hot water. And I have my water almost to the point of boiling here. So I'm going to put almost a cup of water in here. Just short of a cup of water. This is almost boiling. Dump it right on the top. Swish it around a little bit, and that's what that looks like. And the smell of it is so good. Corn masa will continue to absorb that flour. So what we're going to do is let this rest a while. In both of these cases, you're not going to make this dough up and then make them right away. You're going to let it rest. Okay, still nice and wet. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to put the lid on it. And any condensation that heat from that water makes, it's going to stay in the bowl. Okay, let's move over here. Well, I'll just move my stuff over here. This is the flour tortillas. And the original recipe calls for 3 cups of plain flour, and mine is, of course, unbleached, and it's organic flour. So I have 1.5 cups in here. Original recipe calls for 1 3/4 teaspoons of salt, and I have about half that amount in here. The original recipe calls for 6 tablespoons of butter. You can use olive oil if you want to. I wouldn't go with anything else other than that unless you have a good quality lard. I'm not talking about something that you just buy at your big store in town that comes in a green and white wrapper, I think. That's been a little too processed. But if you have a good source for a good beef lard or beef tallow, then you can use that in this. But for right now, we're just going to use butter. So I have 3 tablespoons of butter, and I cut it in little tiny chunks because the more surface area, the quicker it softens. And that's what we want. Actually, I'm going to stir that salt in a little bit. And I just cut this up a few minutes ago, right before I turned the camera on, so it's not quite soft, but that's where the hot water comes in. So I'm going for about a half a cup of hot water. And I can always put more in there, but I can't put less. I'm going to toss this around just to get that butter coated with flour. The hot water goes straight on there. And you're probably going to look at that and say, oh, it's not enough water. I'll add a little bit more to it. Just hang in there. Keep stirring it up. And chances are, when that butter starts to melt, you'll realize it's actually the right amount. If you've ever had store-bought tortillas, and I have, that's pretty much what I was raised on, just store-bought, because nobody in my family knew how to make tortillas, or at least they didn't try, as far as I know. But you will be shocked at how much flavor these have because of that butter, and how little flavor the store-bought ones have because of preservatives and things like that. You're just not getting a good quality flavor, I would say. And unless you're Hispanic, chances are you're not one that makes tortillas on a regular basis. But now you can. This is like the secret that nobody told me when I was younger. So I'm sharing it with you in hopes that you go, are you kidding me? That's all there is in it. This would be my reaction. Wait, masa, salt, and water. Are you kidding me? I thought there was something else to it. Or I would look at the flour tortillas and go, I thought you had to put some Crisco in there or something. What in the world? I've got all that stuff right here. I could be making this stuff. Yes, you can. Okay, this is what our dough looks like. And it's not super stretchy. It kind of falls apart. That's where the gluten starts getting built up. This is a warm piece of dough. I'm going to put the lid on it. So we have our corn masa dough. We have our flour tortilla dough. Going to set those aside. I'm going to get this cleaned up. I have some ironing to do. So when I come back, these are going to be cooled off. There's going to be condensation in this bowl. It's just going to be more moisture for the dough. We're going to roll these out, fry them up, and you're just going to be shocked at how quick and easy this is. I've done probably both of these recipes incorporated into other videos for something along the way. I don't remember what it was right now. But this is the only video I've done showing both of these and nothing else to go with it. So I'm hoping this is something comprehensive enough where you can learn from it. Share it with your friends. These are so easy and so good. I just can't even say that enough. So we'll be back real quick for you, but in a few hours for me after I get finished ironing and doing some other things. We'll come back when this is super hydrated. And I don't mean like it's more wet. I just mean that the grains have absorbed the liquid that's in there, and it's going to be really, really easy to work with. We're going to use the corn tortillas on a tortilla press, and you don't have to have a tortilla press. There are alternatives. I promise you, you have in your house, unless you live in a cave, you have these items. And we're going to roll these out with a rolling pin, the flour tortillas. So we'll be back in just a bit. We are back. I have done my ironing. I went out and did a minimal amount of yard work. I didn't get dirty, which is a shock. So I'm good at getting dirty. All right, we are going to start with the corn tortillas because if I have anybody that's gluten-free and I've done flour tortillas and then in the same skillet I decide to cook the corn tortillas, it's kind of ruined the whole gluten-free aspect of the corn tortillas. So we're going to start out with corn tortillas. I don't foresee having anybody over that has a gluten issue, but just in case, I want to be able to tell them it's gluten-free if it really is. All right, so the first thing I have is my tortilla press, and it works just on a fulcrum system. This is, it looks like shiny stainless steel, but I'm sure it's probably cast iron with some kind of coating on it. And my friends Carrie and Brittany got this for me for my birthday years ago. They're sisters and they're good friends of ours, part of our church family too. And they surprised me with this. I was so excited because it's not something I would buy for myself. I would just, you know, I would take 2 really heavy books and do the same system and it wouldn't work near as well. But this is my fancy tortilla press. So then you just push the handle down, super easy to work. So you also need a zip top bag. And that's what this is. And I've just cut, you can see the label that was on it. I've cut the side where the zipper is off, and then I cut, or the top off, and then I cut one side off. So you have 2 sides that are still connected. You can just have one side, or you can just have 2 separate pieces there. It's fine, it still works that way. So here is our masa corn tortilla mix, and it has become fully hydrated, so the grains have pretty much absorbed the liquid that we added to it, and it's a good consistency. Now, if you like yours a little more runny, and you'll have to do it a few times to kind of play with it and see what your favorite is, I tend to be more on the side of, I want mine to feel like Play-Doh, like really good quality Play-Doh. It's just easy to work with. You don't want it too dry because it gets crumbly. If it's too wet, it tends to stick to whatever bag you're using. Now, I've seen some videos that say use wax paper. I tried wax paper. It did not work. I'm sorry. That did not. So in my mind, I'm just pondering, what in the world could I use that this is not going to stick to? And in my mind, I came up with a gallon zip top bag. And then later on, I see videos and people are saying, you can use zip top bags. I'm like, hey, that must have been a good idea I had. Okay, this should make, if I make double the recipe, the original recipe said this makes about 24 6-inch corn tortillas. So this theoretically would make 12 corn tortillas. I just don't know that it would. I think I made 6 the other day, but they may have been bigger than 6 inches. I don't know. But it doesn't really matter to me what size they are. They're not going to be lined up on a platter for any show. But I just roll it up. You don't even have to roll it up in a ball. Just put your blob of stuff down in about the center of this bag. Press it down a little bit with your hand. And when it squishes out, it's going to come down toward the handle. So I usually tend to put it more toward the side of the hinge. Take it and press it. Now I also have my skillet heating up over there, and I have it on a low number, like a number 2 on my electric range. So it's not like I have it on super high. It's not just blazing hot. So this is what it looks like. This is how thin it is. And you do not take the tortilla off the bag. You take the bag off the tortilla. Now remember that, because that's key to not tearing it. Let's see if I can get this off. And just let it land on your hand. Mine's wanting to tear on the very end of it. And the air itself will kind of dry it, so it's not going to mess up. Okay, let's go over to the skillet. I'll show you how to plop it in there. And don't try to move it once you put it in there, because you will mess it up. So, okay, go back over here, and we're going to make another one. I'll get that little piece of dough off there. The only reason you want to roll them in a ball is to just keep them rounded, but if you don't care about the size of them, I'm going to actually use these in some chicken enchiladas that I'm going to be making in a few days. I'm going to make a video about that, so don't miss it, because they are so good. So very good. It's a new recipe to me. I've made it once, and I was like, oh my goodness, one bite, and I went, okay, this is going to be a video. People need to know about this. Okay, press it down. I usually jiggle mine just a little bit. And remember, take the bag off the tortilla. Don't take the tortilla off the bag. Pull the bag off like that. And I usually stick my hand in and then peel the bag. Off the tortilla. That one's pretty round. That looks pretty good, huh? All right, so now it's kind of a matter of doing the tortilla dance, because we want to come over here and flip this one over. And all you're doing basically is just getting it hot. It's not a matter of getting it browned. I mean, yes, it could turn brown, but it doesn't have to turn brown. I say if I can slide it around in a skillet and it doesn't stick, then it's usually cooked. Now there's one little part here that wasn't exactly pressed down to the skillet, so I want to make sure that's done. And you can add a little tiny bit of good quality oil, or like beef tallow or lard or bacon dripping, something like that, but it's not necessary. I find that really and truly, if you have a good quality iron skillet, the tortillas do not stick to it. Now you can also use a griddle. If you have like a ceramic nonstick griddle and you want to plug it in, particularly if it's hot outside, if you can plug it out on, you know, like outside on a patio or something, do your cooking out there, or a Blackstone, those are real popular now. You can cook those on a Blackstone and they do not stick. So, and as much as I do not like heating up my skillet when it's summertime, it's not so stifling hot today out there that I feel too guilty about doing this. All right, I'm going to take that off, put that one in, and I have a little tea towel over here. Well, it's not really a tea towel. It's my dough cloth. And I'll fold it on the edge, and then I'll just open this up and add the tortillas to it as I go along. So you see what I mean by the dance. You put one in the skillet and then you come back over here and you make another one real quick. Sometimes I walk around in the kitchen doing all kinds of things with a tortilla in my hand because I feel like I can't put it down. All right, come back over here. And flip that one over. Oh, that's a pretty one. Okay, if I could say, yeah, I always make them this pretty and round, I would not be telling the truth, but that would be very impressive if I could do that. Sometimes they're the shape of the United States. Sometimes they're long like a hot dog bun, but yeah, this one's nice and round and pretty. Sometimes I pick these up with my finger, which I used to laugh at my grandmother doing that. And I'd say, Nana, you're going to burn your hand. And she'd say, oh, sister, it's not that hot. And I'm thinking, oh, my word, you pulled it straight out of the skillet. But I get that now. I guess when you get old, you just don't think things are as hot as you do when you're kids. Sometimes these puff up, really just randomly. One will puff up when the other ones don't. So I don't really know what causes that. Now, when I started out making these, I think the original recipe called for having baking powder in. Honest to goodness, there is no reason to put baking powder in these. None. None whatsoever. No, wait a minute. It wasn't these. It was the flour tortillas. Yeah, the flour tortillas called for putting baking powder in it. And I looked back at that recipe day. I have it inside my cabinet door, and I just marked it out. It's like, no reason for that. Corn tortillas did not. Okay, you know it's done when you can hold it like that and it doesn't flop over too much on your spatula. Okay, that amount of dough that I mixed up makes 6 pretty perfect size tortillas. I would say this is a 6-inch tortilla. close to it, 5 to 6 inches. If I'd pressed a little harder, it'd have been thinner, and it could have been 6 inches. But I don't want to mislead you on how many it makes, and then you make it and go, wait a minute, I'm short a tortilla. So, all right, I'm going to keep doing these, and we'll probably speed this process up. There's no need for me to comment on anything else. I've told you everything I know about it. All right, now I'm going to go wash my hands, and we're going to start on our flour tortillas. And we don't need this anymore. That's just for the corn tortillas. So I'll set that aside. Okay, this is how soft our dough is. All right, I want you to get a good view of what I'm doing here. And all I'm doing at this point is just flouring my countertop. I think I'm only going to make 4 tortillas. I'd love to make some of those big giant ones, but my skillet's not big enough, so I'll have to refrain from trying to attempt that. That'd be fun though, make one of those big giant burritos. All right, so you're just going to take this. You can roll it a ball if you need to, but I just tend to press mine out in a circle. My rolling pins are down here. And you want to make sure your surface stays nice and floured, but you don't want to add so much flour to the tortilla that it just becomes, you know, raw flour. So you're probably going to get some weird amoeba shaped thing at first. The more you do, the more circular they become. I don't know why that is. My first one is always weird shaped, and then after that they're fine. But it's just going to be me and my husband eating them, so it's not like I need to impress anybody with a big, pretty circle tortilla. Now when I go to take that last corn tortilla out of the skillet, I also have to be careful that I have flour on my hands, and I have to make sure I don't touch the tortilla with my hands. I'm just that cautious with people who have a gluten sensitivity. When I invite them to my home, or if I'm making something, if I cater something and I tell them it's gluten-free, it truly is gluten-free. Okay, there's our kind of amoeba-shaped tortilla. Now you can put these on the counter and they lift off perfectly fine. All right, I'm going to rinse my hands real good before I get that tortilla out. This one got just a little toasted on the side, and that's perfectly fine. So we have our corn tortillas there. I'm going to fold this up like a little package, and I'll set it aside so it can cool, and I'll get my other pastry towel out, or pastry cloth out, and put it down there to put the flour tortillas in. Now at this point it doesn't matter what we get flour in, because these are flour tortillas anyway, obviously. All right, starting another one. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the skillet. I'll take you over there with me so you can see. These you can handle a little more than you can the corn tortillas. They won't break. They're very flexible. Obviously, they have gluten in them. But I'm just going to lay it down the skillet like that. Now, these will puff up. You can see right there, there's a little spot that's already starting to puff up. Let me turn this light on so you can see. It's already starting to puff up there. So we'll hurry up and roll out our other one. These are super fun to get kids involved in, unless your kids sling flour around the kitchen, which would not be too much fun. But if they just want to do something that tests their hand-eye coordination and they get to eat the rewards for it, these are super fun. Constantly checking for sticky spots on the dough because I don't want it sticking to the countertop or the skillet. I don't actually know if it sticks to the skillet. Shouldn't say that. Okay, that one's ready. Let's go back over here and turn this over. This is puffed up quite a bit. Ah, that is a pretty tortilla. All right, we're going to get this one, set it aside, flour our counter again. And I don't want that tortilla to get too crispy, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out and put this one in. Here's what it looks like on the other side. Put that one in. Now this will have a little bit of steam coming out of it, so this towel kind of keeps it in check and doesn't let it dry out too fast. Hope I'm not making y'all dizzy. Let's see, I think I'm going to put you straight on so you can see what this looks like. When I get to going fast with these, I tend to push down on this side and then down on that side. So on the right, push forward. On the left, push backward. And it comes out a little better of a circle. All right, let me flip this tortilla over. Those smell so good, and the only reason is because of that butter in there. I'm telling you, it smells so good. Okay, this one's done. And let's do our last one. If I had a bigger skillet, I promise you I'll be making bigger ones. These are pretty fun. All right, let's take this one over there. Trade it out. Ooh, nice. Years ago, we lived in Tulsa, and I kept hearing about this restaurant called Atomic Burrito, and they said the burritos were as big as a football. I never went there, but I should have. That would have been fun. But I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine the size of the burrito it would take to make, or the tortilla to make a burrito as big as a football. That'd be crazy. Okay, so this one is done. Sliding it around, picking up all that extra flour off the counter. This is why you keep your counters clean. And for people who have people come in and they sit their purse down on the counter, it makes me lose my mind because I'm constantly disinfecting my countertops. Or somebody wants to put their baby carrier up on the countertop, and I know for a fact they just had it sitting on the ground. Drives me crazy. Okay, see how puffy that is? That is just pure steam in there. Now these tortillas, I can keep them at room temperature in a zip top bag or a container for maybe a day or two, but after that I really like to put mine in the refrigerator just because no preservatives and it has butter in it. It really needs to go in the fridge. I don't want my stuff going bad. I don't spend this much energy and time making something from scratch only to have it go bad before I can eat it or have somebody use it. So anyway, we will put these in a bag and put them in the fridge after about a day if we don't eat them before then. But we really like having sandwiches on these too, having some wraps. Okay, I have one more tortilla to put in. You can see this makes quite the mess with flour on the skillet, but if you're a newbie to the iron skillet scene, don't put soap on it. Just rinse it out with really hot water and scrub it out with a good scrub brush. And it should clean up fine. Oh, that one was bigger than what I should have made it. It's climbing up the sides there. Oh well, it's going to be fine. Okay, recipes for these will be in the description. Remember, I only made half of what a normal recipe would be, so it'll be, you know, instead of 6 tortillas, flour tortillas, it'll be 12. And same with the, did I make 6? No, I made 4. So it would be 8 this size, and then it'd be 12 of the corn tortillas. So anyway, I hope you give these a try. These are so much fun and so much better than the store-bought. And I'm just about to cough again, so I gotta go. We thank you for watching, and we look forward to sharing something with you. We look forward to sharing something with you again real soon. Bye, guys.